Google, Alphabet there. The stock is popping after hours, up just around 9% right now. Jared Blickery has those numbers for us. Jared?
Yeah, we're seeing the stock off of its highs a little bit, come down from that 10% jump. And by the way, it was up 3% today. So let's dig into the numbers. Huge beats all around. Third quarter EPS coming in at $16.40. The estimate was for quite a bit lower, $11.42, and that's versus $10.12 year over year. So nice increase there. Operating income, $11.2 billion. That's up 22% year over year. Estimate was for quite a bit lower, $8.42 billion. And then just breaking down some of the different properties. Well, Google Properties itself, that revenue was up 31.38 billion. So up 9.5 billion from the 9.5% from the year earlier, and the estimates for a little bit lower, 29.5 billion. Advertising revenue, 37.1 billion. That's also up more than 9%, and the estimate was for 34.6. And then other revenue coming in at 5.48 billion. That's down 15% year over year. Estimate was for 5 billion. But the headline number is the revenue, third quarter revenue ex traffic acquisition cost. So that's ex-TAC coming at 38 billion. The estimate was for quite a bit lower, 35.35 billion. And then they did break out YouTube ads. Again, that revenue came in at 5.04 billion. Estimate was for 4.52 billion. Shauna?
And guys, on Google, it's interesting. Talk about overhangs and whether these things matter. We'd like to hear, and I'm sure we will on the call, more about this lawsuit and this antitrust situation for Google. But boy, in this past quarter, you look at those numbers, didn't matter much. And then specifically the YouTube ad sales really stick out to me. I think that's something that when we talk about this platform, we often forget how much of that ad money is from YouTube. And it's hard to see things changing. Now, interestingly, let's get into, and we're going to see how much is Apple affected by all this too, because Apple has been pulled into this story, the antitrust lawsuit against Google. And of course, new reports today that I feel we should mention about the potential that Apple could just go its own way and try and make its own search engine, which maybe sounds like pretty far afield. But now that it's being tied up with this Google antitrust lawsuit that really is about search, let's see what is said on the call on that issue.
Certainly that, of course, will be something to watch. And these calls will get underway. Google actually getting underway in just around 15 minutes at the half-hour mark. A couple of the other calls will get underway at the top of the hour. But again, a strong quarter here overall, I think we can say, for these tech giants. Amazon reporting better than expected results, although the stock under a little bit of pressure, and some of that coming because of their operating income view trailing those estimates. That, of course, could be weighing on stocks here after hours. Google, on the flip side, shares jumping here on the heels of its better than expected report. The revenue coming in at 46.17 billion. Estimate was for just around 42 billion. Earnings per share was a huge beat there for Google at $16.40. And then, of course, going over to Facebook, they beat on both the top and bottom lines, and also their user account. Daily active users coming in at 1.82 billion. That's growth of 12% year over year. Monthly active users coming in at 2.74 billion. That's also up 12% on a year over year basis.